Hey, what's going on, guys? It is Dibs, Mr. Crockpot on Twitter. Today, we're breaking down my top 10 Sixers draft targets. If you love the NBA draft or if you love the Philadelphia 76ers, please be sure to give this video a like. Please be sure to subscribe. Let's go. Alright guys, let's start off with one of my honorable mentions, and that is David Roddy. Here is an incredibly efficient and talented offensive player. He had 3 games where he scored over 30 points and recorded over 10 rebounds 7 times. He's got incredible feel for the game. He's a very talented shot creator, and he really doesn't have a lot of holes in his game. He can thrive off ball, he can score in the pick and roll as a ball handler, he can get buckets in isolation, he's got excellent footwork in the post, and he's absolutely lethal when facing the rim. He can beat you off the dribble or dish out a pass to one of his open teammates. This is a very nimble athlete with a lethal first step who knows how to use his wide frame, get inside the post, and dominate through contact. This is also a very unique player. At 6'5" and around 260 pounds, this could be one of the most unique players in the league in the near future. He measured the 3rd heaviest at the combine at 261 pounds and 34th in height. But when you watch the tape, the dude uses it to his advantage so well. You can see that he knows how to use his strength to score in the lane and create space. Defensively is where he's so interesting. I think this is an area of the game where that uniqueness truly shines. He's got great awareness and he always seems to be in the right position. This guy looks like a center but moves like a playmaking guard. And this unique area of the game also stands out when he's driving to the rim to draw fouls. Roddy attempted 4.9 free throws per game last year and shot 69.1% from the line. Let's move on to my number 10. Coming in number 10 in my rankings is Christian Braun. I'm really intrigued with this guy's defense. He has a strong 6'7" frame, some really impressive fluid lateral mobility when defending the ball, and I was really impressed with his ability to navigate and fight over screens and stay attached when fighting through picks. It's clear he has really strong defensive instincts and he's adept at playing those passing lanes. I think something that's going to translate immediately is Christian Braun as a spot-up shooter. He averaged 1.05 points per possession on spot-up opportunities over his 3 years at Kansas, which is pretty solid for a wing. To put that number in perspective, 2 of the top shooting prospects from last year's draft in Moses Moody averaged 1.06 points per possession and Cam Thomas 1.04 points per possession in spot-up shooting efficiency. I think it's pretty clear that Christian Braun's ability in the catch and shoot will translate immediately. He really also impressed me off the ball, most notably cutting to the basket. I think he's really skilled, but he's most likely going to thrive the most as an off-ball player in the NBA. He's clearly very smart and instinctive when looking for gaps in the defense. He also shot 82% at the rim last year. Of course, that's not going to translate to the NBA, but it's worth noting. Let's move on to my number 9. My number 9 favorite prospect in this year's draft is Marvin Beaulieu. Beauchamp's NBA career will likely be defined by his defensive potential. First and foremost, he's got excellent size and a relentless motor. This is a guy who never seems to take possessions off. He's a great on-ball defender who uses his wingspan and lateral quickness to swarm ball handlers. He's shown the ability to fight through screens and stick with his guy on and off the ball. He's also got the size to hang down low on the defensive end. He does it all. Marvin Beauchamp is also an explosive downhill attacker. This is an explosive finisher who thrives off-ball movement. He's great at attacking downhill and finding open lanes to finish around the rim. He also has solid handles for a wing, which shines the most when he's in transition as both a passer and a finisher. Let's move on to my number 8. My number 8 favorite prospect for the Sixers is Wendell Moore. This guy has solid measurables, 6'5" without shoes, a +7 foot wingspan. He had a 38.5-inch vert at the combine. He'll also be 20 years old on draft night. I love his on-ball defense. He's got a really solid frame which allows him to match up with guards, wings, and forwards. He was assigned by Duke to guard opposing teams' best players on a nightly basis. He has quick hands and very good lateral quickness, so he's going to be able to keep pace with solid ball handlers at that next level. He's solid at getting good position to shut down driving lanes, and he's someone who can easily get quick time on the court because of this defensive prowess. I think he's also got some pick and roll potential and playmaking. He does a great job making the extra pass. Wendell Moore has potential to be a secondary pick and roll threat. He plays the game at a good pace with plus feel for the game. He has no problem finding rollers in tight windows in that pick and roll. He wasn't the primary ball handler for Duke, but he still averaged 4.4 assists per game. He can drive and draw defenders in and kick it open to guys on the perimeter. He also sees the floor really well and offers some value there. I really like Wendell Moore. Let's move on to my number 7. Coming in number 7 is Kendall Brown. First and foremost, this is an off-ball weapon. Straight up, Kendall Brown is an epic slasher to the basket. He's a plus athlete at 6'8" who has amazing touch around the rim. He's an awesome finisher with explosive leaping ability and body control. Naturally, he averaged 1.24 points per possession, good for 82nd percentile in transition. He was a beast on cuts. 1.53 points per possession, 94th percentile, and driving to the basket, 1.49 points per possession, good for 96th percentile. This is a guy who really thrives at catching lobs and elevating over defenders. Almost 2/3 of his shots came around the rim, and his athleticism played a key role in his overall efficiency in college. This is also a very versatile and switchable defender. Brown has the potential to be an elite NBA defender. He has the size and the frame and the quickness to defend 1 through 4 in the NBA. This is a great fit in modern NBA defenses, and he should have no problem switching on the perimeter and disrupting and causing havoc in those passing lanes. He allowed just 0.55 points per possession in isolation. That was good for 80th percentile, and he's shown he can hold his own against smaller guards. Let's move on to my number 6. Coming in number 6 in my rankings is Liddell, a potential 3-level scorer. Despite being only 6'7", he can post up defenders with a solid array of post moves. He can also shoot from the mid-range or from 3-point range. He shot 37.4% from 3-point range last year. This is a guy who can score off the catch or off the dribble, and he's going to quickly make a name for himself as being a solid mismatch in the NBA. He also brings a lot of defensive versatility. At 6'7", 240 pounds, he has the size to play on the perimeter or in the post. He's got an almost 7-foot wingspan that gives him an advantage when he's switched on the guards. When he's in the post, he has the strength and length to match up with most power forwards. His ability to guard multiple positions is automatically valuable. He's also a solid rim protector, averaging 2.8 blocks per game for the Buckeyes last year. Because of this, teams may be able to play him as a small ball center because of that ability to protect the rim. And you gotta love his improvements, his general improvements. He went from 6.7 points per game to 16.2 to 19.4 in his 3 years at OSU. His rebounding climbed 3.8 to 6.7 and 7.9. Then you get to effective field goal percentage, 47, 51, 54. His efficiency across the board improved. And this is also one of the biggest climbers in the entire draft. He weighed in at 244 pounds with a 6'11" wingspan. He's saying that he wants to be 235 pounds after this season, and he had a vertical jump of 35.5 inches, which ranked number 1 among all power forwards. Let's move on to my number 5. My number 5 favorite prospect for the Sixers is Jalen Williams. This is a guy who has solid feel for the game. He was extremely efficient last year while shooting 40% from 3 with a 2.0 assist to turnover ratio. He's a great shot creator. He seems to be very patient as a scorer with solid shot selection. He's also got some wiggle with the ball in his hands. All of this makes me really intrigued with this guy as a potential pick and roll ball handler at the next level. He's also a really good shooter, hitting nearly 40% from 3. Early in his career, he will most likely thrive as a spot-up shooter. Jalen Williams was 97th percentile for points per possession on shots off the catch when open. He was also 100th percentile for points per possession on shots off the catch when guarded. And then you get to the defensive side. On the defensive end, Jalen Williams is super intriguing. He's got a 7'2" wingspan, which should allow him to be very switchable on the wing. He seems to be very adept at defending the pick and roll as well, and I really like the way he fights over screens when watching tape. That's a little bit about Jalen Williams. Let's move on to number 4. My number 4 favorite prospect for the Sixers is Jaden Hardy. This is a potential ISO bucket getter. The Sixers in the playoffs needed a guy who can get a bucket, and this is it. As you can see, he's got deep range on his jumper, he excels in scoring in one-on-one situations, and he's got a variety of moves in his bag. He's a solid ball handler, and he can get to anywhere he wants on the court. Nearly half of his shots came on pull-ups and floaters. Hardy averaged 0.84 points per pull-up jump shot, good for 51st percentile, which is pretty good. I came away really impressed with his hesitation moves. He really thrives at getting downhill and even flash some vision as a passer. And then you get to catch and shoot potential. Jaden Hardy shot 36.6% of his catch and shoot threes in the G League last year. He also has been able to shoot effectively off screens and movement, and he's got some Jordan Clarkson in him. Once he gets hot, watch out. Jaden Hardy looks unstoppable at times. Jaden Hardy averaged 1.17 points per catch and shoot jump shot, good for 76th percentile. He's clearly a guard who can thrive with his feet set or with the ball in his hands. I like Jaden Hardy a lot. Let's move on to my number 3. My number 3 favorite Sixers target is Jake Larabia. This is a guy who impacts the game in multiple ways. As a passer, I love how the ball never sticks to this guy. His vision to see open teammates is definitely there. He's also an amazing cutter. I think he does a really good job reading the defense and knowing where the weak parts are and attacking. Then we get to transition. His transition game is very, very good. It's clear that this is a dude who loves to get out and run. This might be his best area of the game. He can handle the ball well enough to push it and find open teammates. He can finish off plays with an easy dunk or layup. Larabia finished 15.7% of his possessions this season in transition, where he scored 1.33 points per possession. That was good for 80th percentile. I think this is a guy who should be able to come in right away and offer positive value in transition opportunities. And then we get to defense. I think this is a guy who tallies stocks like it's nothing. His instincts are really strong in this area. He has the ability to both poke the ball away without fouling and jumping passing lanes for interceptions. He also gives you some rim protection, especially coming from the weak side. His ability to time rotations for blocks is a really underrated aspect of his game. I love this kid, Jake Larabia. Let's move on to my number 2. My number 2 favorite Sixers draft target is Jalen Terry. Talk about elite measurables for a guard. 6'7", nearly 200 pounds. This is an extremely athletic wing who is also actually a very good passer. He's got the wingspan and the foot speed and the quickness to stay in front of drivers. And he's also only 19 years old. This is a special defensive talent, and that truly shines the most with his on-ball defense. He has the length to bother opponents' shots and the lateral quickness to help him stay in front of ball handlers and deflect passes. His instincts on the defensive end are also very impressive. Lastly, this is a potential playmaker. This is an explosive playmaker in the half court. He's got excellent court vision, and some of his passes truly make you drop your jaw. He can also be a screener or the ball handler in pick and roll situations. He attacks the rim really well, and he's also a great slasher on the offensive end. I love Jalen Terry. Let's move on to my number 1. My number 1 draft target for the Philadelphia 76ers is Tari Eason. Defensive potential. This is an extremely skilled defensive player who's smart and does a very good job of providing help defense. There were many times his defender would blow by and Eason was still able to deter the shot. This is a guy who has no problems defending on and off the dribble, getting into those passing lanes and getting deflections and altering shots at the rim. And then you get to offensive workload. I think Tari Eason will be a serviceable 3-point shooter, especially when he has space in the catch and shoot at the next level. I think he does his best, however, as an off-ball cutter. He has shown the ability to create for himself on and off the dribble as a driver, and I think his handle will be good enough to take bigger players off the dribble as well. He's a guy that thrives in transition though, and he's not afraid of contact off the dribble. His fouls drawn per 40 minutes rate registered at number 15 in the country, which is a good sign that he could get early playing time his rookie season. I absolutely love Tari Eason, and he is clearly my number 1 favorite prospect for the Philadelphia 76ers. So that is my top 10. Do you guys disagree or agree? Let me know down in that comment section below. Shoot me a DM on Twitter at Mr. Crockpot for everything NBA draft and the Philadelphia 76ers. Please be sure to subscribe. Thank you everyone for watching. Stay awesome.